Howdy folks, Little John, and if you're watching this and you're probably a new brewer looking for a little bit of advice on how to get some brewing done and how to make yourself some lovely delicious beverages. This is very much a step backward for Little John's channel. Normally getting into a bit more advanced stuff on the brewing, but I've been noticing on a lot of the Facebook and forums and stuff, a lot of guys at the moment, you know, in this bloody corona virus, COVID-19 nonsense, and there's a lot of people out there getting into brewing now for the first time. They're going out and buying themselves kits or grabbing some cans from bloody Woolies or Big W and whatnot, and they're having a crack at making their own beer. They're worried that people are worried that beer's going to run out or supplies aren't going to be there. So there's a lot more people rushing out looking to start brewing than there would normally be. And as any experienced brewer will tell you, when you're going out at first and you've got very little information and not a lot of help, it can be real easy to make, you know, beer that's not as good as you're expecting, and which can put you off continuing brewing. And realistically, if you're starting, we want people to keep brewing. Brewing's fantastic, and there's so much you can do with it. So being able to make a decent beer from the start is really important. So what I'm going to go through today, very simply, is seven tips that are very simple, very easy, but will help you make sure that your first brews are good, come out well, they're good to drink, and encourage you to keep drinking and keep brewing into the future. Okay, so I'm just going to go through step by step through the brew process. Quick little tip, I will put a link down the bottom in the comments to videos which go into more detail about each different, about the different steps, which will give you a lot more advanced information. Too much to do in this one video. This is just simple things, the things you need to look at, 7 things you need to address making your brew, so it's going to be good, and then you can go on with advanced stuff and look further and expand on that, and go even better. Okay, so number 1, cleaning and sanitizing is ultimately the most important thing when it comes to brewing beer. The equipment needs to be clean and it needs to be sanitary. So when you go out and you buy, like you're going out, and a lot of guys are going to go out and you're going to buy a kit in a box ready done with all the bits and pieces in it. You need to get all that stuff out and give it a good clean. There's various products available. Again, as I said, the video will go through that. But make sure everything is clean and sanitized that's touching your beer. Beer is very prone to infection. Infection will ruin a beer, so we don't want that. We want to keep that out, clean, sanitized, everything. Number 2, your beer can. Okay, most guys, you're going out, you're starting off with a basic kit can. There's other ways of doing it, and again, that's something you will learn yourself as you go. But this is basically where most guys, if you're watching this is where you're starting. A can of pre-hopped wort. This is the Cooper's Real Ale, and there's all sorts of different kinds. That can is the base of your brew. Now, you want to check your use by date on the bottom. You don't want a can that's out of date, and preferably not one that's too close to being out of date. The fresher, same as all ingredients with your brewing, the fresher, the better. So check your use by date. This one's probably getting a bit long in the date. I've got these cheap, and I've been using these for other stuff. But anyway, this one's the 6th of July 2020. So it's got 3-4 months on it. 3 months, it's getting towards the later end of its life. You normally get at least 12 months, I think it's about 18 months, even 2 years date on the can. So you want something that's ideally got sort of 12 months or more on it, if you can. Other thing with these cans is when you're getting your brew done, take your lid off, get the yeast off the top. Yeast is under the lid here. I'm not going to pop this off, but there's a packet of yeast under there. Pull them off, sit that can in your kitchen sink with hot water and let it sit for about 15 minutes before you use it. That will soften up all the extract in this can, and if you set it upside down, it'll run down a bit. But the bottom of these cans, it's easier to open the bottom than it is to open the top, and you do want a decent can opener if you've got one. Cheapo can openers can have a bit of trouble with these cans, but go to the bottom of the can, it is easier. And peel the label off before you start. That helps a little bit as well. Number 3, water. Now, there's more water in your beer than anything else, so it needs to be, of a decent quality. Now, if you've got decent tap water that you can drink without too much issue, then there's no problem using it. But you do need to be aware that there's chlorine and chloramine in all tap water. Unless you're running off a tank out the back of your house, you've got chlorine and chloramine, or one or the other, in your town supply. There's various other minerals and stuff that are in the water, but the main issue with a kit brewer is the chlorine. So the day before you're brewing, fill up a big pot or a container with the water you're going to use and let it sit open for a couple of hours. Now, one way I always found good when I was doing the kit brews was just use bottles, soft drink bottles, 1.25 litre, 2 litre bottles. Fill them with your tap water and just sit them out on your kitchen bench for a couple of hours. Enough to do your whole brew. So you need about 18 litres. After they've sat for a couple of hours, put the lids on and stick them in your fridge and let them get cold. That will make mixing your brew much easier, because you'll be able to get your temperature down to where you need to. I'll explain it a bit further on. Number 4, sugars. Now, this is highly important with your kit. Now, on your kit, well, Coopers and most cans are going to say, on the bottom here, it has a recommendation of what they say to use with it. This one says they recommended to be brewed with 1 kilogram of Cooper's Brew Enhancer 2. Now, that's just fancy name for a mix of sugars to use with your beer. Now, and you'll buy your BE2, it'll come in a box like this. If you're buying from Big W, this stuff, depends where you're getting it, but generally that's what you look at. That's actually like dry malt, but the boxes, you'll get in a box, or it might come in a bag. It might just be a bag, depending on if you're getting from a home brew shop. It might be here, and they'll call it, they could be brew enhancers, beer enhancers, brew booster, stuff like that. If you're getting them from your home brew shop, then you can discuss it with the owner a little bit. But that's what you're looking for. And then, like I said, your BE2, BE1, stuff like that, most of your boosters will come in a 1 kilo box or a bag, and that's pretty much standard. One can, 1 kilo gives you pretty much a standard sort of a brew. Now, initially, start off with what's recommended on the tin. Okay, down the track, you watch the video on increasing the ABV in your beer, then you'll learn about the different reasons why you might use, say, some malt or some straight dextrose. That's things like, just for flavour improvement, if you want to increase the alcohol a little bit, you want to make the beer a bit stronger. But look at that, because there's right ways and wrong ways of doing it. I will recommend under no circumstances to use white sugar, plain white table sugar, in your brew. It doesn't do anything of any benefit. Avoid using it. Also avoid, initially, to understand what you're doing, avoid raw sugar, avoid brown sugar in your beer. Again, do some more reading and understand what they're going to contribute and how they affect your brew. Stick with your basic initially. BE1, BE2, BE3, brew booster of some kind, and work with that. Okay. Number 5 is yeast. Now, as I discussed, the can, there's a pack of yeast under the top of the can there. It's a little fella. It's, depending on the brand that you're using, it's 5, 6, 7 grams, and it's not enough yeast to do the job. And again, check the link here on the yeast. It explains it in more detail. So ideally, if you can, get to a brew shop and get yourself a packet of quality yeast. USA 5 in the pink pack. This is the most commonly used brewing yeast in the world, and it will brew pretty much any beer you want to brew. You'll pay between $4 and $5, maybe $6 at some home brew shops for that pack. It's worth every cent, and it will make your beer a hell of a lot better. So the blue pack, that's an SO. That's a Sapphire. That's an SO4. Same manufacturer, just a different. That's a British yeast. So depending on what style you're using, you can use different yeast. And again, there's links on yeast and how best to use them. And initially, just make it easy, cut the top off that packet and just sprinkle it over the top of your wort when you finish mixing it up. There are better ways of doing it, and again, further research and information. Okay. So all them things, your kit, your water, your sugars and your yeast all go together into your fermenter up front initially. Make sure when you're doing that, that's all mixed in really, really well. When you first add your can, after it's been in the hot water, rinse that can out with boiling water, fill up with boiling water out of the kettle, and pour that into your fermenter. Gets all the gunk out of this. Will also make everything else mix up easier. Again, links on the videos to brews where I've done basic kit beer, and you'll see how that process works. Number 6, temperature. Now, temperature is not, making sure you're in a cool room when you do it. Temperature is where it is when you're actually fermenting your brew, where you're fermenting at. Yeast prefers to be in a temperature in the late teens to very low 20s. And preferable, it likes to be a stable temperature. So you find somewhere in your house that sort of sits in those temperatures that is reasonably stable. And there's lots of options. You can have lots of options in depending on where you are and your house and setup. Understairs are quite often good. Laundries are normally a pretty good place, and bathrooms can be pretty good for holding fairly stable temperatures. Again, depending on the time of the year. Check the link on temperature and temperature control, because there's ways of doing it relatively easy and keeping that temperature. And again, certainly going to make a better beer if you can control those sort of things. Number 7, time. Time is crucially important, and brewing beer requires patience. You can brew beer quickly. You can get it from the can into the fermenter, into some bottles, and drink it, reasonably quickly. You can do it in 7 to 10 days if you're really, really keen. But your beer will be better for taking a little bit of time. Take some time. Let your ferment happen slowly. Give your ferment 14 days total. Now, if you want to rush a little bit, do so. Watch some of the videos down the bottom and see what the benefits are. But you're going through time. Everyone, this little time, people know when they can bottle their beer. You need to use one of these fellas, a hydrometer. You'll get one in your kit. And if it hasn't come with one, get yourself one. They range from about $10 to about $18 depending on where you get them. Get a decent one. That measures how much sugar is in your beer. So you'll start off with a certain amount, you'll end up with a certain amount. And it's how you check whether your beer's finished. You'll get a couple of readings on that a couple of days apart. Ideally, when you're starting out, you want to give your beer every chance you can to be decent. You don't want that first beer being a disappointment. The excitement and everything that goes along with that first beer coming out is enough. You don't want to go, oh hang on, that's not quite bloody. So I suggest let it go for 7 days. Don't do anything with it. Mix it up, put the yeast in, put the lid on, stick your airlock in the top with some water in it, and let it go. Now don't worry if that airlock bubbles or doesn't bubble. They don't always bubble. It's got nothing to do with whether the brew is working or not. You've got your brew pitched at a good temp, which is around, like I said, in that fermentation range, that high teens to low 20s. Make sure your brew's there when you're pitching your yeast. It'll do its thing. Yeah. Give it 7 days. After 7 days, take a sample, pull a sample off via your tap. Don't take anything from the top. Don't open the top. Don't open the top of that fermenter for any reason, unless someone tells you to. Take a sample from the tap, pop your hydrometer in and see what it says. Write it down somewhere. Ideally on the piece of paper you write everything else on when you're going through. 2 days later, do the same thing. 2 days later, take that reading again. If that reading's the same on the third time as it was the second time, then your brew's finished fermenting. You can bottle it up. If it's not the same, let it go 2 more days, check again. Make sure you've got two of those readings, 2 days apart, that are the same before you bottle. So ideally, you don't want to be bottling under 10 or 11 days, and getting out to 13 or 14 is not a bad thing. And again, there's videos down there on advanced processes to make that work even better. Okay. Once it's bottled, you should initially, most guys are going to use carbonation drops because that's the simple way of doing it. There are other ways, again check it out. Bottle up, stick your bottle somewhere dark that's that sort of temperature you fermented at. Let them sit for 2 weeks. If you're a little bit on the cooler side, let it go 3 weeks. Pull a bottle out, stick it in the fridge for 24 hours, test it out, see how it's going. If it's carbonated, if it's got gas. If it's got gas, beautiful. Get them in the fridge, cool them down. You can drink them from that point, but they will be better if you can let them sit for 4, even 6 or 8 weeks before you actually drink them. So I certainly suggest, from once you bottle them, let them sit for 4 weeks, just in a nice, comfortable dark spot, and then give them 4 weeks in the fridge. Now, if you can. If you can't, leave them for at least 6 weeks, then get them in the fridge. But get them in the fridge for at least 2 days before you drink them. That will help to suck any sediment and stuff that comes from that priming. Adding your sugar to your brew will make some sediment at the bottom. You need a couple of days for that to settle down, and then when you're pouring, just pour it nice and reasonably gently without being too slow and girly about it. And leave that stuff in the bottle. You don't want that. It's not, it doesn't taste that great. And drink it, and you'll bloody enjoy it. It'll be bloody beautiful. Okay? That's it, 7 points. 7 simple things, which all, in their own, can turn into much larger things. But right now, you don't need to look at the larger side. Just get the simple things right. once you've got your first beer on, it's sitting there, and it's bubbling away, or it's not bubbling if your fermenter's got an air leak, but it's sitting there, it's doing its thing, and you're getting all fidgety and edgy about, oh, is it doing the right thing, is it working? Instead of going and looking at the fermenter and, you know, taking, you know, wanting to give it a cuddle and, you know, see what's going on, instead, get online, look up these other videos, watch them, learn some more stuff, get on some forums, ask some questions, find out stuff, look into the more detailed side of things, get a better understanding of what it is you're doing, because all those things will make you a better brewer and increase your chances of sticking around. And as I said, this is a great hobby. Can save you an absolute fortune. Yeah, and everyone loves going to someone's house and you can pull out a good quality beer. And that's what you can do. You can make really good beer, yeah, fairly easily, just with a little bit of knowledge. So take your starting step, get these 7 steps right, you'll be making good beer. When you do get them right and you've made good beer, come back and tell me. I want to hear about it. But until then, from me, from Little John, from all the Patreons, all the subscribers, welcome to the world of homebrew. I will stick a bonus link down the bottom. It's a video called The Slippery Slope That Is Homebrew. It's worth a watch. Might give a little bit of an insight into where you're heading. But for now, till I see you again, we're brewing beer, talking beer, we drinking beer. Good brewing.